Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Sitting down here in the basement bait shop, waiting for the upcoming season to start. It's not far off, and right now I'm really trying to concentrate on the different types of baits and techniques that I'm going to be utilizing in really the first three tournaments of the year. I have three tournaments in roughly, I must say, a 5 or 6 week span. So because we're starting here in February, you're talking about pre-spawn tournaments, very, very much so. And, as an angler, I feel like the pre-spawn period is one of the best times of years to not only catch big fish, but numbers of fish. But I also feel like as anglers, we've got it more dialed in during the pre-spawn than any other time of the year. And I think a lot of that is being confirmed with the use of forward-facing sonar. A lot of it is just the fact that you've got a lot of fish that are shallow, and we've got more accessible fish during that time of year. So we've got a better sampling of knowledge. So we're able to take everything, combine it all together, whether it's forward facing sonar knowledge or our hundreds of years worth of knowledge of chasing bass. And we put it together, and the pre spawn period is one where we've got it dialed in. So from that standpoint, I've got a bunch of baits that I'm starting to set aside, and I'm really starting to think, okay, this is going to work at Sam Rayburn. This is going to work at Norfolk. This is going to work at Kentucky Lake. And I just kind of wanted to walk you through some of these baits to just point you maybe in the right direction. Some of this is maybe common knowledge for you guys, but these are baits that I'm going to have tied on for a good portion of my season.
Today's video is brought to you by the Deep Dive app. This has had an amazing new update. As you guys know, I love the water clarity feature. As you can see right here, we're looking at Grand Lake, which just had a whole pile of rain come into it. It went from being really clear to having a lot of dirty water coming in the bottom end of it. Just an amazing feature to be able to determine where the clear water is versus the muddy water. So Deep Dive has just also introduced Stream Flow. Now this is a really cool feature that shows all of the water input coming into certain reservoirs and the amount of water coming in. So they measure it in cubic feet per second. You can see in this case, this is just a small creek, but then you can see the projected as well as the previous flows. If we move up the lake here, get into one of the larger rivers coming in, you can see here that we've got 490 cubic feet per second. And then it shows you that there's not much of a change expected. Now, if there's some rainfall coming, I'm sure those projections will change. If we scoot on over here to take a look at Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake, much larger river systems, the Tennessee River, you can see what the projected outflow is going to be there, 28,000 cubic feet per second. Go check the Cumberland River here. We got 9.4 thousand cubic feet per second. Just an amazing feature that allows you to see all of the different water flows coming into the different parts of the lake. You can see which ones might be the most affected, which ones won't be affected, see what the projected outflow schedules are. A major feature to help you catch more fish. And that's on top of some of the other new features like the wind effects. Now, the wind effects is really cool because we've had wind effects as part of the app in the past, but all it did is show where the wind was hitting the shoreline the most, as you can see from the dots, the orange and bright red dots, which indicate where the wind is really striking. But now the wind feature also indicates what the wave action is like on the lake itself. So some of the features you're going to get from this is determining where to get from place to place safely by avoiding the heavy, rough water conditions. You'll be able to determine where you may have some of the strongest current flow and some of the places where you can fish to stay protected. Now, along with that, you still have some of my favorite features like the patterns that you've got on the lake that indicate the best baits and lures to fish with. You've also got the water inflow app, which shows you where a bunch of the rain input comes in. That can be an amazing pattern to fish throughout the year. Just a great feature to have. So many positive features anytime you're fishing or using the Deep Dive app. Just points you in the right direction to catch more fish. Whether you're a tournament angler or a local fun fisherman that's just out to catch a few fish, the Deep Dive app will help you catch more fish next time you're out on the water.
Okay, so the first one that I'm going to always have on this time of year is a jerkbait. This is the Berkley Stunna 112. A lot of different good jerkbaits out there, a lot of good different sizes. So anything from your smaller jerkbaits up to your really deeper diving jerkbaits. I may have on 2, 3, 4 different jerkbaits depending on the lakes that I'm going to, Now, one thing to be said anytime you're talking about the pre-spawn period is you've got the potential for a lot of heavy rain. And if you've got a lot of heavy rain, you might get a lot of off-colored water, and that can really stymie the jerkbait bite. But the jerkbait is just a really good bait at not only searching for fish, but also getting some of those lethargic fish to bite. And from that standpoint, I'm going to have a jerkbait tied on at all of these tournaments for sure, probably multiple jerkbaits. Now, to go along with the jerkbait is really your minnow style bait. So I'm going to have on something like this is the core tackle hover rig with the Bass Tricks flash tricks. I'll probably have on a ball head jig that's a little bit heavier to get me down in that 25-foot range. But your jig and minnow combinations, your straight tail combinations, whether it's hover strolling, mid strolling, Damiki rigging, whatever it is that you want to call it, the reality is that's going to be a major player. You've got a lot of fish that are keying in on your bait fish, a lot of fish that are suspended off the bank, a lot of fish that are in transition. And if you're going to be out there using your forward facing sonar, you're going to have your jig in minnow combination. So I'll probably have 2 or 3 of those rigged up. And I'm going to do a full walkthrough too. Like when I'm prepping for each of these tournaments, I'll do a full walkthrough of all the different rods that I have rigged both for pre-practice as well as going into the tournament, and you'll see these baits rigged up for sure. Now, another one of my favorite pre-spawn baits is your vibrating jig. So this is actually a little one. This is the Z-Man Mini Max, and it's got the little 3.5-inch Berkeley stinger on the back. A great combination. I'll probably have 2 or 3 vibrating jigs rigged up. I'll have some that are heavier, a smaller size. I may have on something that's a weedless version to come through stumps or, depending on what the cover it is that I'm looking to fish. But your vibrating jigs are really good at generating strikes from your bigger lethargic fish. I've had some really good finishes on vibrating jigs in your very early pre-spawn phase. So I'll definitely have that on. Another one that we know can be a killer is your lipless crankbaits. Gold for me has always been a really good color in the pre-spawn period, but your lipless crankbaits, this is a Berkeley War Pig. Again, going to a place like Sam Rayburn, which is, I mean, potentially the birthplace of the lipless crankbait or the home of the lipless crankbait. I very well could have 2 or 3 of these rigged up in, again, various sizes, various styles, and various colors, just depending on what the conditions are like when I get there. But I'm always going to have on a lipless crankbait if I'm talking about the pre-spawn period. And then last but not least, I'm going to have on something like this little jig. This is a little tungsten Picasso little spotty. You got a little 3-inch Berkeley Pit Boss on the back there. I'm going to have this tied on anytime I'm coming up to a piece of cover that could potentially be something that a bass is sitting on as they're staging to move up to spawn. A lot of your laydowns off of like channel swing banks, a lot of your isolated docks, little rock clusters, anything like that. I'm going to have something slow that I can throw in. And for whatever reason, I feel like a jig is just a really good pre-spawn period. Whereas when the water warms after the spawn, a lot of your plastics will start to play a bigger role. But I got to have on a little jig like that. And that can generate some of the biggest bites of the day. I generally don't get as many bites on that, but they're bigger quality bites. So if there's a piece of cover in front of me that I see, I'm going to flip that jig in there. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. Let me know in the comment section, what are some of your favorite pre-spawn baits so that the viewers can learn from you guys as well. Put that in the comment section. And if you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned. We'll have a new one coming out tomorrow.